Alright guys, in today's video I'm going to show you guys how to draw buildings the simple way. The first thing you'll need to know how to draw is cubes, or just 3D shapes in general. And to draw a cube, it's actually pretty simple. This is the way that I like to do it. I like to start off with a diamond shape, just like this. So once you make your diamond, after that I like to do one line down from the bottom point. You can make it however long or short as you want. For this, I'm just going to make it this long. And then what you're going to want to do is, for these points right here, you're going to also want to put some lines down, but don't make them as long as this line. And these two lines here should preferably be the same length as each other. And then from there, all you need to do is connect the points together, just like this. And now you have a cube. That was pretty simple, right? Now what you could start to do is make more cubes. So maybe I want another cube right here. So we're gonna add another diamond shape, but maybe instead we'll make this one a bit longer looking, like this. You know, and we're not going for accuracy either, nor are we trying to make something in perspective. This is more of just kind of a creative exercise where you don't really have to worry too much about, you know, the exact details of how everything should look. So again, we're going to do our line down from the middle point, and then again, make these two lines even, and then connect the dots again. Now you might be thinking, if these are turning into buildings, aren't they pretty short? I would agree with you. But what you could do is you could start stacking them. This is something that I learned back in 3rd grade, and this was what I used to do every day in school and at home. Just really simple. Go like that. Basically, you're copying this right here, but down here. You can do it for this one too. Basically, you're just kind of copying the same lines you made here, but instead of having the line connect to that point, you're making it go just behind the building, just like that. And then again, you could do another line down like that, make these lines even with each other, and then connect the dots, just like that. Now we have a building that is 2 stories tall. We could also do the same for here, but how about we make this one a lot longer? Make it go down to here, just like that. So you might be thinking, is this all you could do with buildings? No. The possibilities are truly endless. Here are a few other options that you could try out. See this line here? That could also be part of a diamond, right? So we could make another diamond shape like this that is connected to this line right here. And then again, we could go line down, line down, line down, and then from there, connect all the points. Really simple. And we could also do the same on this side. You know, maybe we don't, but now we're going to run into an issue here. This building is kind of connecting to this building. So what we can do to combat that is make something that's in the way of these two so we don't deal with all this confusion. So maybe for now, I'm just going to make another diamond shape. And I'm going to make another building going down, just like this. And as you can see, I'm not really too concerned about straight lines or everything being even. I'm just focusing on making these shapes look discernible enough for you to understand what's going on in the scene. And just like that, looks like we now have a couple of structures that we've made. Now from here, you might be thinking, this is pretty simple so far. I don't see where the buildings and the details have came in yet. But this is the first step to making buildings. You gotta start off simple and then work in the details as you go. So now what you can do is you can start to add in the details. Now what I would suggest is that you look outside at some actual buildings or look online and look at different architectural structures and see how people actually build buildings. Whenever I travel, especially to a city, I love to look at the architecture and see how the architects designed like the windows, the edges, maybe the top of a building. So here we're gonna go for more of a kind of the classic New York building. Usually it has these little lips here at the top that kind of go above the actual building here. And then from there, we could just start to add in little circles or little ovals like this, just to represent the buildings. Pretty simple. We could just do that all the way down. Do it however you like. Doesn't really matter. If you want to, you could then break it up like this and make another line. And then again, you could add some buildings just like that. But then we also have this giant kind of area right here where it's like another kind of floor for people to walk on. And you know, whenever I look up at buildings, especially when I was in New York, sometimes I would see little trees and bushes. So let's put some of those in right now. Let's do a little bit of shading, just some lines to bring in some more details, give it some more character. And you know what? Because this looks kind of very plain right now, I'm gonna add in some lines here for shading. It might cover up a lot of what we've done so far, but if you only do it to one side, kind of where the shadows are, it starts to kind of make a lot more sense. We'll pretend like the light is coming from this way. So all of these shapes right here are gonna be hitting the light, and all of these on this side are gonna be in the shadow. Now we can just continue this window pattern that we've made here, but that's a little boring in my opinion. We could always do more things. We could make a giant circle window as well, just like that. Super easy. We'll color it in right here. Again, this is not really correct on perspective, but it does show what we're trying to do, and you know, it's easy enough for anyone to understand what's going on in this drawing. And if we want to, we could add other little circles. Doesn't matter, you can make the building look however you want. The possibilities are endless. We'll add a little bit of detail up and down here, and we could consider this side done. Now for this side, let's try something else. Let's try long arches just like this. Sometimes you see these on a lot of old bridges, a lot of older architecture too. These long archways that could stretch all the way up nearly to the ceiling. And from there, you know, again, this is the shadow part, so I'm going to shade it. Generally, you would like to keep all your shading lines kind of going the same direction, but you know, I'm just trying to show you guys all the possibilities of what you can do. So I'm just going to kind of try out different things as the video goes on. And just like that, this section is complete. But we forgot about this roof. So why don't we go over here, make some holes in the building, just like that. And maybe we'll make some smoke coming out of this little chimney here. Give this a bit more character. All right, now let's focus on some different types of buildings that we could do. We kind of did some more older architecture with this little section here, but with this, let's try some more new wave stuff. A lot of buildings that are made in this era are made out of glass, and they're very shiny. And these buildings are actually what I consider the most simple buildings out of all the ones that you could draw. Throughout time, I've noticed that a lot of the architecture and just design in general has gotten a lot simpler. Back in the day, things were a lot more detailed and more interesting to look at, in my opinion. If you go through any old town, especially here in America, you'll notice that a lot of the older buildings have a lot of really interesting and intricate details to them that you never see on buildings that are made today. But as you can see, all we had to do was just draw a grid. Just a couple lines like that, almost like you're playing tic-tac-toe. And then all you gotta do is add some lines just like this to kind of show that the building is shiny and the light is kind of reflecting off of it, to kind of give it that more glassy effect. And then here again, you know, this is where the shadow is, so we're going to make some lines going this way, covering this whole part of the building here. When the lines intersect like this is known as cross hatching. It's a shading style that you could use. And then if the lines just go in one direction and don't intersect each other, that is known as hatching. That is personally my favorite style to use. As you can see, I've done it a little bit in the smoke here earlier. Let's make this building just go a little different. We don't have to have grid lines like down there to make a modern type building. Sometimes the lines could just go this way. Maybe you could add little dots in them too. This is generally the kind of buildings that I would see in a place like Chicago, New York, a lot of those boring office buildings. You wonder how many people work in there. I don't know. It's a lot of rooms. Alright, now we're just going to shade this section right here just to bring in a little shadow from this building to illustrate that, you know, the lighting is affecting not only just these sides, but also the top of this roof right here. And also I'd like to mention that I will be making a shading tutorial soon for anyone that wants to get more in depth on the different kinds of shading that you could do when you draw. You could also check out my TikTok channel where I do have a few art tutorial playlists. Alrighty. Let's just make some more, let's just put in some more details. We could start to replicate some of the patterns that we've already established, like this one. We could put it here. A lot of the times when my drawings look really intricate, it's really just a few patterns that I'm using in the right places to make it look like everything looks different. If you just separate the patterns out enough and diversify them to make sure there's not a cluster of the same pattern in one area, it can make the piece look a lot more intricate and detailed than it actually is. Now that you've learned the basics of drawing buildings, start implementing your own ideas to make your own unique structures. You can also make it more interesting by adding different shaped buildings like cylinder and pyramid shaped structures. When I first learned how to do this when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I found myself studying architecture more when I was out on the streets. By taking mental notes of some of the cool details you discover, you can then implement them into your own buildings. You can really just keep on going forever drawing buildings. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could get a giant piece of paper and fill the entire page. Since all buildings start off with the same simple structure, you can cover the entire page in cubes, then go back in on details using different styles with every building to make it look really diverse. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please let me know in the comments what videos or tutorials you would like to see me do next.